On behalf of the League of Women Voters of the Spokane area, welcome to our 2021 primary election candidate forum, featuring candidates for Spokane Valley City Council Position 4. All voters within the city limits of Spokane Valley will select two of these candidates to advance to the general election. I am Lisa Kuhar, your moderator, and Mike Bell of the League is the timer. Election day for the 2021 primary election is Tuesday, August 3rd, 2021. Ballots will be mailed to all registered voters about 3 weeks before Election Day and must be postmarked or deposited in conveniently located ballot boxes no later than 8 p.m. on Election Day. You can register to vote by mail or online by July 26, 2021, or in person on Election Day at the Spokane County Elections Office at 1033 West Gardner Avenue or at Center Place, 2426 North Discovery Place, Spokane Valley. For other questions about casting your ballot or information about the candidates, contact the Spokane County Elections Office, area code 509-477-2320, or visit their website, spokanecounty.org/elections, or on the League of Women Voters online voters guide, Vote 411 at vote411.org. I will be asking the candidates questions that have been formulated by the League's Voter Services Committee and will ask as many questions as time allows. Before the questions begin, the candidates will have up to 30 seconds to introduce themselves, tell the voters why they are running. They will have up to 1 minute to answer each question, with additional time for rebuttal or a follow-up question as appropriate. And each candidate will have the opportunity for a 30-second closing statement. The first speaker will alternate with each question. And now we meet our candidates for Spokane Valley City Council Position Number 4. The candidates are Brandon Fenton and Ben Wick. Also running are Christopher Ingram and Mark McManus, who are unable to participate today. Okay, gentlemen, we will start with candidate Fenton. You'll have 30 seconds to tell us why you are running for Spokane Valley City Council.
Okay. I am Brandon Fenton. I'm running for Spokane Valley City Council Position Number 4. A little bit about me. I was born and raised in Spokane, graduated East Valley High School in the year 2000, immediately joined the Washington Air National Guard. I did 20 years of service there, honorably retired. I care about this city, and I believe that there's a need for some change in the city council. We need some more conservative views and outlooks that match the people of Spokane Valley, and that is why I'm running.
Thank you, candidate Fenton. And to you, candidate Wick, you have 30 seconds to tell us why you're running for Spokane Valley City Council.
My name is Ben Wick. I'm also born and raised Spokane Valley, actually 4th generation Valley native here. Went to East Valley High School, similar to Brandon. Went on to Eastern Washington University, did a degree in computer science, also a small business owner.
Let's stop, please. We're having trouble with your audio, Ben. You just cut in and out. So let's breathe. That's all right. We want to get, important thing is we get your message up. Go ahead and just, I don't know, recite the alphabet or something for a moment. Let's see if you're good. Turn it up. I'm having trouble hearing.
My microphone is up all the way. Maybe I'll
Okay,
just try
that's better.
speaking louder. How about that?
That works. Okay. And we'll turn to you, candidate Wick. Tell us why you're running for Spokane Valley City Council, please.
All right, a little bit about myself. I'm Ben Wick. I'm born and raised in the city of Spokane Valley. Actually, 4th generation native for Spokane Valley. Graduated from East Valley High School. Went on to get a degree in computer science from Eastern Washington University. And been a part of the city council now for 8 years and as mayor for the last 2. I think our future is bright. We have a lot of opportunity as a city and a lot of projects that are in progress that we need to continue and see through.
Okay, time out. We're going to have to stop until your mic is cutting in and out. So I'm catching most of what you're saying, but then it fades and there's a very echoey, a very tinny sound in there. So let's have you reposition. I'm not sure what we're going to do, but
how about can I leave and rejoin?
Please do. I love Zoom, Brandon.
Oh no, it's wonderful. I had my kids do it all through last year, so.
It actually is it is a neat technology, but like all technology, you can have some problems. And again, the goal is that
Yeah.
we want people to be able to hear both of you because
Yes.
we're about
Yes.
information.
Well, then obviously, what's the point if you can't hear them?
Right. And so
Yeah.
it detracts from the whole thing. So, and again, when he first came in, it was good. So we'll see what Mike Bell can do for us too.
Hopefully, it just needs to reset.
Yeah, that's the beauty of electronics. Sometimes you just reset.
I'm waiting for him to check back in. I don't see it yet.
Right. Years ago, my brother's car broke at midnight, and he said, "I wish I had a mule. I could just kick it in the butt and it would go." But
Yeah, I'm admitting it now.
okay. Hi, Ben.
How about now? Is that any better?
It seems to be okay. And now we'll turn to candidate Wick. You'll have 30 seconds to tell us why you're running for Spokane Valley City Council.
Sure. My name is Ben Wick. I'm running for Spokane Valley City Council. Born and raised city of Spokane Valley, actually fourth generation native to the area. Went to East Valley High School, went on to get a degree in computer science from Eastern Washington University. Also a small business owner, and been proud to serve as your city council member for the last 8 years and as your mayor for the last 2. The city has a lot of opportunity as a community. We're advancing many projects for bridging the valley and other areas, and just really want to see those to continue and come to fruition.
Thank you, candidate Wick. Our first question will go to candidate Wick. How should Spokane Valley utilize state funding for roads and other development projects? And you'll have 60 seconds.
So we should definitely utilize state funding for roads and transportation. Transportation infrastructure is our primary responsibility as a city in my mind. That's how we do economic development. Unfortunately, there's not enough funding from the state to do all the projects. And so we need to stay and be a part of an active involvement in the state level for transportation and infrastructure improvement, but we need to be able to look elsewhere as well. We've been taking a very proactive stance at the state level. I'm actually serving on the Association of Washington Cities transportation environment, as well as the State Freight Mobility Strategic Investment Board, advocating for all cities for freight movement and infrastructure projects. We need to layer all the different funds. It's almost like building a lasagna, as we do different grade separation projects in our city, which are paramount, as well as across all the different infrastructure and preservation maintenance. Because every dollar we spend on maintenance, we save up to 8 and have to rebuild a road. It's just a matter of how we fund all of the different priorities.
Thank you, candidate Wick. Same question, you candidate Fenton. How should Spokane Valley utilize available state funding for roads and other development projects?
I believe that we should be very diligent in our spending and monitoring what we spend our money on, especially on the roads and those budgets and the money from the state and the federal government. As many people in Spokane Valley might be able to see, is sometimes that there's road construction that goes on and you really don't know why or what is going on or why it's being repaved or recreated or anything like that. So I think that we need to take a look and spend wisely. This is taxpayers' dollars, and I would not appreciate having my money wasted. And I know the taxpayers don't either. And I believe that we need to be diligent in that spending and be conservative about it and spend money on the roads that need it and not frivolously spend. I know there's a lot of projects going on. There are a few that I believe are unnecessary. And I think that we should look into those things to make sure that the money that we do get, the little that we do get, is being spent properly in the right places.
Thank you, candidate Fenton. Question 2, we'll begin with candidate Fenton. What is your vision for future parks and recreational areas in Spokane Valley?
I think that the parks and recreational areas in Spokane Valley are an amazing thing. They're growing. I think at this time, we really do not need to be spending the money when our economy and people are struggling. I don't think that it is wise for the city council to be spending millions and millions and millions of dollars on areas in new land acquisitions in areas that aren't necessary or aren't realistically a good place for parks. We spent nearly $2 million buying 40 some odd acres across from Flora Road, which is surrounded by industrial land. There are no families, there are no houses around there. And so I use the city, the parks and everything on a daily basis pretty much with my kids. And I think that We just need to spend that money a lot more wisely.
Thank you, candidate Fenton. Candidate Wick, what is your vision for future parks and recreational areas in Spokane Valley?
No, I think we need to be strategic, and I think we've done that in the last couple of years here. As monies come in, we actually look back 2 years and transfer over the unspent funds from our previous city budgets, so we have cash on hand. And we've utilized that cash on hand for different, in my mind, strategic investments in parkland. We bought 46 acres. Yes, it was in the industrial zone. However, it was along the Spokane River. And so it's one of the few places you can actually access the Spokane River at grade. From that opportunity, we've heard a lot about the Centennial Trail usage and how everybody really enjoys that. We have a new concept called the Spokane Valley River Loop Trail, where we'll extend that Centennial Trail on the north bank of the river for a 10-mile loop, connecting Flora all the way up to Plant Ferry Park, as well as we have a parks master plan identifying critical areas where we want to see new parks. We've acquired another one in Ponderosa recently as well, but we need to do it with cash on hand, not borrow or go into debt as a city.
Thank you, candidate Wick. We'll turn to question 3. How much of a problem is homelessness in Spokane Valley? And what should the city do to address this? Candidate Wick, you'll begin.
Sure. Homelessness is a problem, is a region. We need to address it. I've been participating with Mayor Woodward and the county commissioners on a weekly or every other week cadence, trying to figure out how we can align our resources with it. As a city of Spokane Valley, we have reclassified an existing open position within our staff to create a homeless and housing coordinator. We're getting lots of money from the state and federal government to address housing and homelessness, and we need to come up with our own plans. We're a little different in Spokane Valley than the region. We need to make sure we advocate for the philosophies that we have as a community. And so we've created this position, we've engaged them, we've engaged the homelessness as well, or the homeless individuals, and we really need to connect them with resources that are out there. So that's where I think we need to be as a city and continue to make improvements.
Thank you, candidate Wick. Candidate Fenton, same question. How much of a problem is homelessness in Spokane Valley? And what should the city do to address this?
The homelessness is a growing problem, but unlike my opponent, Ben Wick, I do believe that Spokane Valley needs to be more separated from Spokane and Spokane County. As you can see, anybody that can see that goes downtown, it is a growing and problem downtown Spokane, and I don't think that we want to handle it the same. I don't think that we just want to throw money at it. Growing a bureaucracy in Spokane Valley is not the right approach. I think we need to reach out to our nonprofit organizations that do an excellent job, like the Union Gospel Mission, where they actually will, help individuals and give them a leg up and a foot up to grow in society and give them the skills to be able to stand on their own. So we need to be separate. We are our own entity, and City of Spokane is not doing a good job at it. So we need to do differently. And the bureaucracy and the money that Spokane City Council currently wants to spend on that is not the right approach.
Thank you, candidate Fenton. Gentlemen, for questions 4, and I have a 4A and a 4B, I'm going to read a little bit of an introduction and background information. Spokane Valley's population has grown about 1% per year since it was incorporated in 2003. Available housing has not kept up with this increase, resulting in ever higher home prices and rising rents. Currently, 2/3 of Spokane Valley housing units are single-family detached houses. Another 20% are apartments and condos, and fewer than 10% fall into a third category of housing called missing middle housing. That is attached single-family homes such as plexes, triplexes, and quad homes, townhomes, or row houses. Though incomes of 2/3 of households in Spokane Valley are close to, at, or well above the median, the remaining 1/3 have incomes that range from moderate income to extremely low income. On June 1st of this year, the Spokane Valley City Council adopted a housing action plan with strategies to address the need for more housing units in Spokane Valley. First question, rather than looking at how to increase available housing across the board, the plan focuses on increasing the missing middle housing options that use fewer resources, are often more energy efficient, and will provide housing options for households at all income levels and stages of life. For example, young families or downsizing seniors. And to you, candidate Fenton, how do you feel about this strategy? You'll have a moment.
I am not sure that I quite agree with that strategy. We definitely need to fill in that missing middle. But part of the problem also is the single family homes where we do not have enough of them. And so you have the people that are in the missing middle and the apartments that cannot find or afford the single family homes in the next step in their life. So we need to expand our ability to have more single family developments made so that people can progress in that avenue of ownership to where they can own their own home. So I think that is a definite strategy that needs to be considered as far as expanding and allowing more single family developments to come up and be built.
Again, Candidate Fenton, would you support providing tax and other financial incentives to encourage construction of affordable housing for low-income residents, especially those who spend more than half of their income on housing and utilities?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Certainly. Would you support providing tax and other financial incentives to encourage the construction of affordable housing for low-income residents, especially those who may spend more than half of their income on housing and utilities?
Yes, I do believe that there is definitely some room in there with the city council to be able to give incentives for those buildings of low income housing so that people can afford things. I know that rent rates right now are outrageous for apartments, for townhomes, for condos, for housing in general, and we need to tackle this problem. And I believe that this problem has been exacerbated by the lack of any movement or any proper planning by the current city council, and we need to make adjustments. My opponent has been in there for 8 years, and this problem has been growing for quite a while. Now it's hitting that tipping point, and we need something different in city council. Thank
you, Candidate Fenton. Candidate Wick, rather than looking at how to increase available housing across the board, the Housing Action Plan, focuses on increasing the missing middle housing options that are fewer resources, are often more energy efficient, and provide housing options for households at all income levels and stages of life. For example, young families or downsizing seniors. How do you feel about this strategy?
So I think we need a diverse housing portfolio or options for the community. So our Housing Action Plan did come up with a way to focus on this. In 2020, we permitted more development than we have in the history of our city.
Stop. We're having mic problems.
I was going to say, I can't hear him.
We're having mic problems again. Okay. I don't know whether you need to sit closer. I don't know if there's something covering your mic. Your laptop, desktop, what are you using?
I am a laptop. I try to hinge it upwards so that way I can talk into it more. Is that better now?
That is much better. Okay. I'm going to start with the pair just so that it gives the editor more stuff to, okay. So we're just going to pause here a moment. Rather than looking at how to increase available housing across the board, the Housing Action Plan focuses on increasing the missing middle housing options that use fewer resources, are often more energy efficient, and would provide housing options for households at all income levels and stages of life. For example, young families or downsizing seniors. How do you feel about this strategy, Candidate Wick?
Thank you. So I agree with the strategy. We need to find a way to have a diverse housing portfolio. People need options. Apartments or work for some, single family houses work for some, townhomes work for some. We need to be able to provide a diversity to handle different options for our community. So that's why our Housing Action Plan focused on that. In 2020, we actually permitted more development in that year than any other year in the history of our city. And with that, though, we looked at what the trends were. And yes, we have a large repository of single family housing development in our city. We actually permitted more duplexes and apartment styles than we have across the city. So it was completely opposite for our permitting. We need to look at the supply as well. What land is available out there? The large tracts of land that are able to be developed aren't available in city limits. We're more into the infill, how we can do the more high density developments. So that's where we're trying to focus on giving that diverse portfolio.
Thank you, Candidate Wick. And to the second part of this question, would you support providing tax and other financial incentives to encourage the construction of affordable housing for low-income residents, especially those who may spend more than half of their income on housing and utilities?
So we don't have a lot of incentives that we can do as a community with our state constitution. But one incentive that wasn't actually in the housing action plan was the multifamily tax credit. Trying to do developments of that nature. So yes, we are supportive. We also participate in the Spokane housing, but they give rental assistance and programs of that nature. We allocated a lot of our CARES dollars that came into our community for rental assistance, utility assistance. We're definitely out there trying to develop new housing strategies and get some more affordability.
Thank you, candidate Wick. We'll turn to the second question pair again, if you recall the intro information and the statistics. Using data from 2019 or earlier, the plan anticipates that Spokane Valley's population will increase by slightly more than 14,000 over the next 16 years, and that an additional 6,660 new housing units will be needed over that period, 351 units per year, slightly more than the 345 additional units built per year in the last decade. The Spokane Realtors Association says that with the housing inventory in Spokane Valley at the lowest level in its history, the plan's goal of 351 new housing units annually is far too low to meet the demand they are seeing. Candidate Wick, how urgent do you think availability of housing in Spokane Valley is currently and in the foreseeable future? How well does the plan address this?
So the plan looks at what we want to do, trying to expand our options, but we need to do more, right? Housing is a big issue. We need to find how we can develop more, or how we can remove the restrictions actually from the business community to be able to develop more. Whether that's through additional supply of land through the Growth Management Act, or finding density, but we can't do density everywhere. We need to do density where there's transit services and supportive services, so that way those that are in the higher density housing have options to get around and mobility and transportation. It all works together as a large system. We need to be sure to be mindful of where we're putting density, but also affordability. And of course, the pandemic didn't help us very much either in 2020, with the price of lumber more than tripling recently. All of that goes into affordability. We need to stay the course, find more availability for land, as well as look at how we can increase density.
Thank you, candidate Wick. I'm going to encourage you to get a little closer on part two of this question.
Okay.
In addition to adopting goals and strategies for increased housing, what can the city do to ensure that such goals and strategies translate into actual housing units available as soon as possible?
Well, that is where we work with the development community. So the home builders, the realtors, all those different associations. Also working with employment. Unemployment is low. And the fact that we can't find people to work. The construction trades can't find workers to come in and build the houses, the price of lumber. It all works together. And so we need to be monitoring and working with the associations, the development community, finding what the roadblocks are, whether it's changing in state legislation, updating valley codes, whatever we need to do to figure out how we can improve the housing situation. We all want to have a Kendall Yards or a River District or a Riverstone in our community. However, it took 4 businesses going out of business trying to develop that development where they finally were able to get it developed. We don't want to see businesses go under, but we want to figure out how we can remove the restrictions to get that kind of development to occur.
Thank you, candidate Wick. Candidate Fenton, using data from 2019 or earlier, the plan anticipates that the Spokane Valley's population will increase by slightly more than 14,000 over the next 16 years, and that an additional 6,660 new housing units will be needed over that period, or 351 units per year, slightly more than the 345 additional units built per year in the last decade. The Spokane Realtors Association says that with the housing inventory in Spokane Valley at the lowest level in its history, the plan's goal of 351 new housing units annually is far too low to meet the demand they are seeing. How urgent do you think availability of housing in Spokane Valley is currently and in the foreseeable future? How well does the plan address this?
I honestly have not had a chance to look at this plan, so I do have some research that I need to do to be a little more well versed on it. But in general, I think that we do need to expand our ability to build, and working with the Realtors Association and home builders and the like, lots of other businesses. I believe that if we really put it together and we coordinate, that we should be able to do it, and then we will find a way. You're always able to find a way. So anything besides that, people are just giving up, and I won't ever give up. So that's my thoughts on it.
And to part two of that question, candidate Fenton, in addition to adopting goals and strategies for increased housing, what can the city do to ensure the goals and strategies translate into actual housing units available as soon as possible?
Again, this is something that I'm not necessarily well versed on what the city can and cannot do with that. But all I can say is that with me, and if I am elected, I will do everything that I can to make it happen. I will coordinate with anybody I can, all the realtors, the home builders, any associations that I need to, any state and local authorities that I need to make it happen. We really need to crush this problem of the lack of housing.
Thank you, candidate Fenton. We'll turn to question 5 now, gentlemen, but before we do, you want to test your mic there, candidate Wick?
Sure, just testing. Can you hear me better now? Sorry,
Oh,
I just
yeah.
remembered I had a headset.
Yes, and also there's not the, there was a little bit of feedback or something going on. Sounded like, I don't know. I'll think of what it was, but good. This is much better. Question 5, we'll turn to candidate Fenton first. With Spokane Valley's continuing growth, what zoning or other changes would you support to decrease urban sprawl and create more walkable neighborhoods?
I think the walkable neighborhoods are a great thing. I don't know if I agree with the urban sprawl. I think that we do need to expand as a city. I think that we do need to come up with more residential areas and more business areas, more space for those businesses to go into neighborhoods, for people to be able to walk down to those businesses and not just have those zoned areas for business that are far away to where everybody has to drive to. But I do think that we need to expand this Spokane City area.
Thank you, candidate Fenton. To you, candidate Wick, with Spokane Valley's continuing growth, what zoning or other changes would you support to decrease urban sprawl and create more walkable neighborhoods?
Well, with the walkable neighborhoods, we're definitely kind of focusing in on the trails aspect, and whether it's the River Loop Trail or the Appway Trail, trying to provide more connectivity. We've done a whole bicycle and pedestrian master plan to make sure that we kind of route those walking systems together through that plan and think about it strategically. But we also need to focus the high density development where there are services, whether it's transit or the trails. We can't have the townhomes and the high density apartment buildings being somewhere where there's not supportive services for that. So I agree, we need to have some of that, but we also need to focus on our neighborhoods and single family developments. And so in my mind, it's different zones and different areas of our community where we can allow that kind of development to happen and support it.
Thank you, candidate Wick. Question 6, the city of Spokane developed a sustainability action plan with environmental policy goals to ensure a healthier, more resilient community. What policies and practices would you support to achieve similar goals in the city of Spokane Valley? And candidate Wick, you first.
Sure, I'm not familiar with the sustainability plan that the city of Spokane did, but we constantly look at health as well as community quality of life. I think that's where we're looking strategically at our parks master plan as we develop more, coming up with different areas for housing. We also went through in the last zoning update that we did, added a little bit of neighborhood commercial, where we looked at food deserts and where we can support development or encourage development of grocery stores and access to more lower cost food alternatives to community members in the neighborhoods. We called it our neighborhood commercial side of things. We're trying to come up with innovative ways to get the business community to be able to develop and provide more healthy options and accessibility for our community.
A slight follow-up to you, candidate Wick. The City of Spokane's Sustainability Action Plan was updated with the new 2019 Washington State requirements for renewable energy and greenhouse gas reduction. How would this perhaps impact what you would want to do in Spokane Valley?
Well, I know the energy codes are a large one that try to reduce that gas emissions, things of that nature. We have to follow the same state guidelines for energy codes. Unfortunately, the system isn't really there in my mind. All the incentives are for high efficiency gas alternatives for heating homes, things of that nature. Now the new energy codes force everybody over to electric and electric only for heating and air conditioning and all of those services in the home. And so it's increasing the cost of housing. So in my mind, it's a trade-off. as we talk about affordability in housing and development of new housing and how we can reduce costs, at the same time, the state and federal government are encouraging more climate change and other alternatives, which is driving the cost of houses up. The Home Builders Association estimated that it was an extra $10,000 to $15,000 per home development to allow these new energy codes. And so it's a real concern that we're going to have to keep our eye on.
Thank you, Candidate Wick. Candidate Fenton, the city of Spokane developed a sustainability action plan with environmental policy goals to ensure a healthier, more resilient community. What policies and practices would you support to achieve similar goals? And again, with the eye on the requirements for renewable energy and greenhouse gas reduction up in 2019, and I will give you an equal amount of time for your answer.
Okay. Like my opponent, I have not necessarily seen that action plan from them, but it's something I'll have to look into. But I believe that the city of Spokane Valley should be independent from Spokane and the state on a lot of issues. These things where we're talking about nixing the gas and moving everything over to electric heat in the house and adding that cost to the home builders and then passed on to the consumers isn't right. And so we need somebody that is going to be in city council that is going to have a strong backbone, that is going to be and push against those edicts coming down in those plans where it just doesn't fit quite as much into our values here in the conservative part of Spokane Valley. We just need that kind of leadership in the city council.
And to follow up, climate doesn't recognize city limits. So again, how would that perhaps play into any thoughts of this sustainability plan, environmental concerns? And candidates?
Well, yes, there does need to be a balancing act, but a unilateral decision to make everything electric heating and housing and stuff like that, I don't believe is right. I think that we do need to push back on that, but there should be a balancing act where making things more efficient and proper for housing and the developments and everything, so they are better than what they are in the past. But I believe that there can be a way to balance that so that we have both the best of both worlds.
Thank you, Candidate Fenton. Okay, gentlemen, that concludes my questions, and we'll now go to closing statements. And Candidate Fenton, you'll have 30 seconds for your closing statement, please, sir.
Mark Twain said that politicians in diapers must be changed often, and for the same reason. I believe this to be true. I believe that we shouldn't have people in office for longer than what they should be, because they become detached from the everyday citizen, where the city council is spending millions and millions of dollars and it does not faze them at all and it does not affect them. I would like to get in to the city council. I want to make changes. I want to make us more lean, less government oversight, and support small businesses.
Thank you, Candidate Fenton. Candidate Wick, your closing statement, please.
Sure. We have a great city. We're a contract city. We have 95 employees for the entire city of Spokane Valley. We are a pay-you-as-you-go philosophy. We have virtually no debt as the city goes, but we need to make strategic investments, pick up properties when they're available with the cash available on hand. And we need to continue our bridge in the valley and grade separation projects to spur economic development, grow the economy to support the basic necessities that we need as a city. And I pledge to continue to do that and would hope for your vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Candidate Wick. This concludes our 2021 primary election candidate forum, featuring candidates for Spokane Valley City Council Position 4, Brandon Fenton and Ben Wick. Also running are Christopher Ingram and Mark McManus, who are unable to participate. On behalf of the League of Women Voters, thank you to our candidates for participating in this forum. We hope this has given you, the voters, information that will help you make an informed decision when marking your ballots by Election Day, Tuesday, August 3rd, 2021. For more information, visit our website, lwvspokane.org, or our online voters guide, Vote 411, at vote411.org.